Before you start the setup of your ECO Master, you're going to want to have 2 gallons of distilled water, a Phillips screwdriver, and some paper towels. First part, we're going to show you how to attach the changer, which is a smaller part of the machine, to the main body. So now, before you put the changer on the main body, you're going to want to plug in the power cord on the bottom of the changer. Now that you've installed the power cord, now you're going to want to change the hanger or hang the changer onto the main body. Now that you've hung the changer onto the main body, now you're going to have to make 3 electrical connections. One is the green ground wire, the other is the power supply cable that's attached to the green ground wire, and the top will be the changer control cable. So on the side of the main body there's a black Phillips screw. Please remove that screw. After you remove the screw, put the screw through the lug of the ground wire and then reattach the screw to the main body, making sure you have a nice tight electrical ground. Now you're going to want to plug in the power supply cable into the corresponding outlet on the main body. Now we have to attach the changer control cable. So in that rectangular opening above where those other 2 connections were, feel around inside there and pull out the changer control cable and plug that into the corresponding outlet on the main body. Those are the 3 connections that need to be made. So now that you've made those 3 connections, on the side of the main body there's 2 large black thumb screws. Please remove those. After you remove both of the black thumb screws, now close the changer up next to the main body like you're closing a book. After that, please open up the plexiglass door and reinstall those black thumb screws to make sure you have a nice tight connection between the changer and the main body. Now as we look inside the changer, up top you got the black plastic spindle. Around the base of that black plastic spindle is some bubble wrap, and you'll have to carefully remove that. After you remove the bubble wrap, now if you look below the silver shelf that the black plastic spindle sits at, in the back you're going to see a bicycle chain that's attached to the carriage that that black plastic spindle sits at, and you'll see that it rides up and down on a rail. At the top, on the left-hand side, you'll see that there is a U-shaped bracket with a red sticker on it, and that needs to be removed. And to remove that, you'll loosen the thumb screw on the right-hand side and remove that clamp. That's for shipping purposes only.
So what do I do?
And again, that's for shipping purposes only. So now we're done in the changer right now, so you can close the smoke plexiglass door. Now, before we move on, we want to let you know that how this machine repairs discs is through a wet sanding process. So water is very important to this machine, and all water that goes into the machine needs to be treated. So with that in mind, let's open up the big door on the bottom, remove the cardboard packing. So now, let's remove that white filter pitcher. Now you may have troubles getting it out because those 2 tubes go into 2 brackets, and we'll explain that in a little bit. After you remove the white pitcher, now let's remove that main tank, the clear drawer on the bottom. Okay, So now let's remove the cover off the main tank. And now we're going to treat our water. All water that goes into the machine needs to be treated with 20 milliliters of solution D. There should be a little measuring cup or graduated beaker, and you'll get your supply bottle of solution D. And the ratio of solution D per gallon of water is 20 milliliters. So now let's put 20 milliliters into each gallon of water. After you put 20 milliliters into each gallon of distilled water, now put the caps back on and shake up the containers to incorporate the solution D into the distilled water. So now, after doing that, we now have treated water. And again, remember, all water that goes into the machine needs to be treated with 20 milliliters of solution D per gallon of water. So now we're going to turn our attention to the clear drawer, which is the main tank, and we're going to fill that. So now I'd like you to remove the cap off of 1 gallon of now treated water and pour that all into the main tank. The tank is divided into 4 sections, but each wall has a hole, so the water will equalize. So now, if you take a look at the right front corner of the main tank, you'll see that there is a white sticker that says limit or lower limit with an arrow. That's like the bottom of your dipstick. In other words, the level of the water should never be below that. So now let's take the other jug of now treated water and continue filling the main tank until it's about, the level of the water is about 1 inch from the very top of the tank. Very good. So now let's take and put the cover back on top of the main tank. You'll know that you have the cover on properly when the hole with the rectangular opening is located in the right front corner of the main tank. So now let's take and put the main tank back into the machine. You want to make sure that you push it all the way to the back and as far over to the left as possible. So now, right above the upper right front corner of the main tank, you'll see that there's a metal pickup tube, which is your water pickup tube, in 2 clamps. There may be some packing tape on the flexible clear tubing, so you want to remove that. And now let's push that metal pickup tube down to its bottom position. Now, let's confirm and make sure that the level of the metal pickup tube is well below the level of the water. And it is. So now let's turn our attention to the white pitcher. We have to pre-fill this pitcher, and also I want to go over some information that you'll need to know. First of all, you have the 2 metal tubes that are coming out of the top of that white pitcher, and they go into 2 brackets on the machine. Now, if you take a close look at the 2 brackets on the machine, you're going to see that there's a wire that goes to each bracket on the right-hand side. So these brackets don't just hold the tubes, they also send a very light electrical current through the tubes, which causes static electricity inside that white pitcher to make the solids clump up like cottage cheese within that white cloth filter. So again, you need to have a good electrical connection between those tubes and brackets. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pre-fill this pitcher, because all the water that comes out of the repair chamber goes into this pitcher before it overflows and goes into the main tank. And if we don't pre-fill this pitcher, it'll just suck the water out of the main tank, and we don't want that. So now let's take that elbow with the blue tube that's on the side of the pitcher. Let's rotate that straight up, and now let's slowly pour the treated water into that funnel in that inner pipe. The water is going to overflow into the white pitcher. Continue letting the water overflow into the white pitcher until the level of the water in the white pitcher comes up to just below the elbow on the side of the white pitcher. Excellent. So now let's talk about this a little further. So now what I'd like you to do is lift up that inner tube that has the funnel in it up and out of that thick outer aluminum tube. If you notice that there's two ends to the tube. One end has 4 cross-drilled holes. The other one has about one hole drilled down about an inch from the top. There is a top and bottom to this tube. So the bottom of the tube has 4 cross-drilled holes. If you were to when you change the filter and you have to clean the tubes, and you put that tube in upside down with the 4 cross-drilled holes at the top, you will not get a good electrical connection. You can put the tube back in the outer aluminum tube. After so many minutes of the water pump and compound pump running, it will come up and tell you exchange the water filter or first filter. That's the white cloth filter inside that pitcher. When you look in there, you'll see that it's about 2/3 to 3/4 full of what I call cottage cheese. And you'll throw out that white filter and install a new white filter. And then also you're going to want to clean the tubes. And that's what that black bottle brush is for, is to help you clean those tubes. And then you'll obviously refill with water as we just did. I also want to let you know that the level water in the main tank, which is that clear drawer that we went through, should also be checked and filled as needed every day, due to the fact that this machine recirculates the water and filters it. You will not need to change the water in that main tank until it becomes cloudy looking, which is usually about 500 to 1,000 repairs. So every day in the morning before you start a run of discs, you should open up the bottom, check the level of the water in the main tank. If it's not to the level of where it is right now, you'll want to fill that up using treated water, and that's what that rectangular opening in the main cover is for. So now let's reinstall that white filter pitcher back into the machine. And remember, it's hard to get those tubes in and out of those brackets, so you'll probably have to push directly on those tubes to get them to go into those brackets. And again, the reason why it's so hard to get them to go in and out is because it has to make a good electrical connection. So now take the elbow on the side of the white pitcher and rotate it so the blue tube goes through the corresponding hole in the upper cover of the main tank. That is how you pre-fill your pitcher. Now, the main board monitors the amount of amps and volts that are going through those two tubes. And so if you have a poor connection between the tubes and the brackets, it's going to give you a water recirculating alert. And we'll be going over that in a little bit when we get to the screens. So now we'll move on to the compound bottle. To the left of that white pitcher, you got the white compound bottle. If your compound bottle is not full to the 200 milliliter line like this bottle is, please take your supply compound bottle, shake it up, and fill the bottle on the machine up to 200 milliliters. The reason why we're telling you to fill it up to 200 milliliters is after so many minutes of the compound pump running, the machine assumes that you need to check and replenish the compound if needed, and it'll come up on the main screen and tell you to replenish compound. Again, there's no sensor in this bottle. The machine does not know if the bottle's full or empty. It just assumes that after so many minutes of the compound pump running that you need to check and replenish if and as needed. And then you'll go down to the compound screen and clear the compound pump timer, which we will get into when we go over the screens. So, with that being all said, we are done down there, so you can close the plexiglass or the bottom door. So now what we're going to do is we're going to want to plug in the power cord into an outlet. So now that you've plugged the cord into the outlet, down on the very bottom of the changer is your main on and off switch. Toggle that switch forward towards you, and that'll bring power to the power supply. So now that you've turned the main power on and off switch down on the bottom of the changer, now up top, just off to the lower right of the LCD screen, press and release that chrome power pause button. This will initialize the machine, and bring you back to the main screen. So now we're going to go over the different screens on the machine. To get off the main screen, to get your other screens, hit the check button in the upper right hand corner of the screen. So now you'll see that there is a arrow down button in the towards the upper right hand corner of the screen. Press the arrow down button. Now you see the up and down arrow buttons. That's how you scroll through the screens. So now let's arrow down to the next screen. This is your polish timer or pad counter screen. The master keeps track of how many times each pad is used, and when it comes up to its limit, it will come up and tell you to exchange pad 2 or exchange pad 3 on the main screen. When it does this, you will go down to this screen and you'll see that the clear buttons, which are the same color as the back of the screen now, whenever a counter or a timer comes up to its limit, it will come up, it'll be highlighted in light blue just like the up and down arrow buttons. So right now, just to show you quickly how to clear it out. Clear, yes, and we'll do this one as well. So now they're all cleared out. Again, whenever a counter or timer comes up to its limit, the clear button will be highlighted in light blue just like the up and down arrow buttons. So now let's arrow up, go to our compound screen. So down on the bottom you got compound on and off. That's how you manually turn on and off your compound pump. We'll be doing this here in a little bit to get the compound flowing. And then up top you got your compound pump timer. Now remember when we were going over the compound bottle that I said that after so many minutes of the compound pump running that it assumes that you should check and replace the compound as needed. You'll go down to this screen. You'll see the clear button will be highlighted in light blue. You'll clear out the compound pump timer. That'll remove the prompt from the screen, and then you continue doing repairs. So now let's arrow up to the water screen. These are your different timers. You got your water and water filter. The water filter is the white cloth filter and the white pitcher. After so many minutes of the water and compound pump running, it assumes that you got to replace that white cloth filter. Again, it's not an exact science. So you'll go down, you'll look at the white pitcher. If the white pitcher is full, between 2/3 to 3/4 full of, as I say, cottage cheese, you'll want to replace that white cloth filter, clean the tubes, install a new cloth filter, and refill the pitcher as we just did. And then you'll go to this screen. You'll see the clear button will be highlighted in light blue for the water filter, and then you'll want to clear that out to remove the prompt from the screen. In the bottom left-hand corner is water on and off. That's how you manually turn on and off your water pump, which we'll be doing here in a little bit. Now, to the right of that, you have WRS with an on and off button below it. So remember how we were talking about you have to have a good electrical connection between the tubes and the brackets that they go into? This is how you can actually check your connection. So let's turn it on, and you have to have all doors closed. As you can see, numbers with A and numbers with V come up. A is for amps, V is for volts. You'll see that the volts fluctuate, so as long as you're getting a reading on volts, you don't worry about that. What you're looking for is 1.5A, which A stands for amps. So right now we have a great connection. You can get up to 1.6 amps, but 1.5 amps means you have a very good connection between those tubes and the brackets. So let's turn this off now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up the front hatch here and get familiar with what's going on inside the machine. So now to open up the hatch, you're going to want to open up that big car door latch on the front and rotate the head unit open. So now up top we have our pad holders, the blue, red, green, yellow, black, and purple pad holders. And then down on the bottom is the white plating table that the disc actually goes to be repaired. So now let's turn our attention back to the pad holders and let's start installing pads onto the pad holders. So how the pad holders are attached to the pad, or how the pads are attached to the pad holders, is via Velcro. So you're going to want to put purple to purple, blue to blue, red to red, green to green, yellow to yellow, and black to black. Now, as you can see on the outside diameter of each pad holder is a raised lipper edge. So you want to make sure that you center the pad onto the pad holder so that no part of that sanding pad goes up onto that raised lipper edge, or you'll no longer have a flat sanding surface. Now on your black foam pad, you'll want to make sure that the foam will go over that raised lipper edge, but you want to make sure that no part of the Velcro goes over that raised lipper edge. Also, make sure that the hook and loop of the Velcro is well incorporated into one another, so that way the pad holder has a good attachment to the sanding pad itself. Now that we've done that, now let's go over daily cleaning and deeper cleaning. Now, down on the bottom, the white plating table, when this machine is closed up, that the sanding pads don't move down to that white table. That white table moves up to the sanding pads. As it moves up, you'll see that that under splash cover, which is the same shape as that upper splash cover that surrounds the purple pad holder, as that table moves up, the lower splash cover meets the upper splash cover and forms a clamshell, and that's really where all the dirt happens, I guess we should say. So now, at the end of each day, what we're going to want to do is while everything's still wet, you're going to want to take some paper towels and clean that upper splash cover. And then down on the bottom, you'll want to clean that white plating table. Toothbrush usually helps getting in between the fingers of that white mat. And then get that under splash cover as best as possible. And then you'll wipe up any other little splatters that may be in the machine. That's your daily cleaning. Deeper cleaning. Up top, you got your upper splash cover. That is held on by 2 Phillips screws. You'll remove the 2 Phillips screws. Now you have your upper splash cover. Then, down on the bottom in that plating table, in the center of that plating table is the center pin. That's what goes through the hole of the disc. It's that white plastic pin. If you look down in the middle of that white plastic pin, you're going to find a small metal Allen screw. And there's a black Allen wrench that came with your machine, and that's to remove that screw. Then you can remove your plating table. Then underneath that, your under splash cover, is held on by 3 of the same screw. You remove those screws, then you can remove that undersplash cover. Now, if you take a look at the drain hole on the right-hand side of that undersplash cover, you're going to see that there is a funnel that's located below there, and then you'll remove that funnel. Now, that funnel's not the same funnel that is in that inner pipe down below. That's the pre-funnel, or the funnel that funnels it into the funnel into the white pitcher. And so the only way to get to that funnel is to remove the plate and table and that undersplash cover. So now that after you've removed the upper splash cover, your plate and table, your undersplash cover, and that funnel, take them all over to the sink, scrub them up under warm water. That's all you need. Dry them off before you reinstall everything. You'll have more room to get your hands in there and wipe up any other little splatters or leaks, and then reinstall, and that's part of your deeper cleaning. Now, deeper cleaning should be done once a week, or at the latest every 2 weeks. Again, the deeper cleaning takes about 10 minutes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to purge the air out of the water line and the compound line. And so now what I want you to do is take some paper towels, fold them up, put them on the left-hand side of the plate and table so that they're located right underneath the nozzles. As you can see, the nozzles are the thick, clear plexiglass holder. So let that rest on the plate and table now. So now what I'm going to want you to do is partially close that head unit just about halfway so you can still see the nozzles, but you can also see the screen. So now we're going to purge the water line. So now in the bottom left-hand corner, turn on the water pump. And continue letting it go until it comes out in a pulsing stream. Now you can turn it off. So now let's arrow down and turn on the compound pump. And now when compound comes out of the nozzle, continue letting it come out until it starts coming out smooth and creamy like hand lotion. As you can see, this is a little thick, and it no longer holds its form once it hits the paper towel. Okay, that's good. So now that we've purged the air out of the water line and got the compound flowing, please remove the paper towels. And now that we're done in there, you can close the head unit after removing the paper towels. So now let's get back to the main screen. So to get back to the main screen, arrow up. And in the upper right hand corner, to get back to the main screen, hit the back button. This also goes to show you that if you don't know how to get off a screen to another screen or how to get back to a screen, it's always the button in the upper right hand corner. So now let's go over the main screen. Up top you have your 50 disc button. Now whether you put 2, 10, 23, 36 discs in, the machine, when it finds no more discs to be repaired, will go into standby mode after it's finished the run of discs. But if you wanted to use this button, you can select it. It takes you to a calculator screen. You could put in 20, 25, whatever, and it'll only do that amount of discs. But again, you never really need to use this feature. So below that you have CD, DVD, and BD. BD is for Blu-ray disc. So let's select BD. It takes you to a completely different screen, and you have 4 different levels of repair. Level 1's the lightest, level 4 is the deepest. Hit the back button to get back to your main screen. Then you have the CD and DVD. Now, whether you're in CD or DVD, the machine repairs the discs exactly the same. So in other words, you can repair CDs and DVDs together. I'm going to show you the difference between these two buttons right now. Select DVD. Now try to select deep or sanding. See how it won't let you select those buttons? To be able to do a deep or repair or sanding, you have to be in CD. Now it lets you select those buttons. That's the only difference between CD and DVD. Again, the machine repairs the discs exactly the same, whether it's in CD or DVD. The only difference between these two buttons is if you want to do deep or sanding, you have to be in CD mode. Now, let's go to programming. Programming lets you do different levels of repair within a stack of 50 discs. So let's select program. So let's set it up to do 10 discs on medium. So press the set button, takes you to the calculator screen, put in 10, and E for enter. So now let's set it up to do 10 discs on very light. So as you can see, you can have the machine do however many levels of repair within a stack of 50 discs on however many discs, but the machine is going to tell you how it is going to do them. So as you can see under medium, it says discs 1 through 10. Then under very light it says discs 11 through 20. So now let's open up the plexiglass door on the changer. Up top where the black plastic spindle is, that's where the machine puts discs out after they've been repaired. Where you put the discs in is down on the bottom on that black plate. Label side down, scratch side facing up. So if we were to put 50 discs down in the bottom there, label side down, scratch side up, the top disc of the stack would be the number 1 disc, and the bottom disc of the stack would be the 50th disc. So what it's telling you is that the top 10 discs of the stack it's going to do on medium, and then the next 10 discs of the stack it's going to do on very light. Again, you're only going to use this program mode if you want to do different levels of repair within a stack of discs. If you're going to run all the discs on the same level, you do not need to go into this program mode. So now, before we get out of the program mode, we got to clear our settings. Press clear. Of course, we want to clear it. After you have cleared it, now hit save. This takes you back to your main screen. Again, you only use the program mode if you're going to be doing different levels of repair within a stack of discs. So now, let's go over our different repair levels. First one is sanding. As you can see, you have 3 levels of repair. Level 1 is obviously lightest, level 3 is the deepest. Now, when you go into rough sanding, you have a badly scratched disc, and this is the sanding will put out a disc onto the black plastic spindle that is unfinished, meaning that it won't come out nice and shiny. So when you're through with the sanding, because it only uses the coarsest sanding pad, which is the blue pad, then you're going to have to put it back down in the bottom of the changer and select deep or medium to finish the repair to put out a fine polished disc. Now our different levels of repair. From deep on down we'll put out a finished disc. So you have deep, that uses the blue, red, green, yellow, and black pads. Medium uses red, green, yellow, and black pads. Light uses just the green, yellow, and black pad. Very light uses just the yellow and black pad. And clean and polish uses just the black foam polishing pad. So then after you were to select CD or DVD and the level of repair that you want, then you would just press the start button and the machine would start to repair discs for you. So now that we've gone over the screens, now we're going to go and put some discs in for repair. So open up the plexiglass door, put the discs in down on the bottom, label side down, scratch side up, close the door. And you want to make sure that all doors are closed whenever the machine is loading or unloading discs, because if you don't, the machine will stop and tell you to close the doors. So now that we've done that, we're going to select, we are in CD mode. We will go select a medium repair, and we'll press the start button.
fixing.